Thank you so much for joining me today for this video presentation. Welcome to Ask the Oracle channel. This topic is perhaps one of the most important topics that I may ever produce on this channel. What exactly is a demon? What causes a demonic possession? Why some people get possessed and others will never have that issue whatsoever. This is the reason why I'm doing it, is because having a family member that was possessed over and over again. He didn't stay that way, but he would have episodes over a period of 10 to 11 years. And so this is a very close topic to my heart. And I know what it's like to be a mother that has a child that has this problem. And I'll also tell you what they look like based on all the ones that I've seen over the years.
I am going to dedicate this to all of the mothers who have ever witnessed their child suffer from a demonic possession, as well as family members and to those who have suffered from this. Now, this is going to be based on my personal experience and understanding of spirituality. It is not based on science, because science cannot measure anything that is not physical. And so this topic is one of those that needs more light shed, because there are misunderstandings and lots of ideas on the topic that may or may not be true. Now, I do not pretend to be an expert on this topic, but I wanted to share this as an educational tool for those of you who are seeking more information and haven't been able to find what resonates as true for you. Now, please only take it if it rings true for you and leave what does not. So today what we are going to be covering is what exactly is a demon, and the number one cause of a spirit possession, and how to get rid of them forever. And also I will do a part 2 where I offer a guided meditation or exercise for those of you who feel that this may be helpful. This is what most spirits look like in another dimension. They are a ball or an orb of energy floating around. Many of you have seen these orbs show up in pictures, and that may have been a spirit orb, especially if it had light coming from within it. Now, this is me. This is what I saw in a hypnotherapy session, as I had no intention of seeing this, but this is when I looked at my body. I was just an orb, a beautiful pastel pink, yellow, blue, purple orb floating in space. Spirits are able to interact with us. It is easier for them for some reason. Now, to understand different planes of existence, just think about a radio and how you turn the channel to a different signal or frequency. So all these dimensions or other planes of existence exist simultaneously beside ours. However, we are not usually able to tune into their frequency. Now, this is where I just want to say that spirits somehow can tune into us and our world, whether or not we want them to or not. Now, the first time that I experienced a spirit was when I was about 5 or 6 years old, and my sister and I both had the same experience. We heard a horse galloping down the hallway. Before it started, we heard the horse whine, and then all of a sudden it started galloping down our grandparents' hallway. Now, this was a terrifying experience for a young child. We had watched Ichabod Crane and Sleepy Hollow, so we thought it was the headless horseman in our house. And it was very scary for a child not to know. And interesting enough, we were the only ones that heard it. Our grandparents never heard it. Now, I want to share with you the first time I realized that spirit entities can hurt us, physically harm us. I was around 15 years old, and I was laying down in the shower, and a shampoo bottle that was apparently sitting on the side of the tub, it wasn't even high above my head, hit me so hard I nearly passed out. But before that happened, I heard a woman laugh, and the door was closed. There was no one else in the house. And it hit me so hard that I was seeing stars. I was laying on the ground in the tub, and I knew enough to maneuver my face so that I didn't inhale and drown in the water because it was flowing over my face. So I turned my body around and until I was able to regain full consciousness. Now, this was a scary revelation to realize that invisible forces have the power. They have the power to harm us physically. So I just want to clarify that my intention with sharing my personal experience is not to produce fear. That is the worst thing that we could do, is be fearful, but to educate, because I went through it. And sometimes when you're going through these kinds of things, who can you call? I found that even spiritual-minded people didn't know what to do. So I hope to shed some light on this for you who are listening in. Now let's go over what is a demon exactly. Let's look at what the ancient Greeks believed. The ancient Greeks had their own ideas about what a demon was. At that time, they believed that demons were a type of spirit guide, perhaps a semi-divine entity that served as some kind of mediator between mortals and the gods. And at the same time they believed this, they also understood that not all demons were good. There were malevolent beings that they believed would get into people and cause humans and beings to do evil or malevolent acts. And since we know that we live in a world of duality of light and dark and positive and negative, it only makes sense to understand it this way. Now, in Socrates' day, they had theories about this and different interpretations. And as you know, Socrates was the father of Western philosophy, and Plato said that he was sentenced to death in part because of his teachings regarding demons. Now, Plato was a student of Socrates, and he wrote in Plato's Apology of Socrates that Socrates had claimed that he could hear a daemon or a divine something, a kind of voice that warned him of mistakes but never told him what to do. In Socrates' day, they didn't differentiate between a guardian guide spirit, helper, and a demon. So they called the good ones and the negative, malevolent beings demons. So he was sentenced to death partly because of his teachings of these entities, but also because the Athenians disliked him very much and accused him of corrupting their youth, misleading them, and because he did not acknowledge the gods of the state. Now, if you think about demonic and malevolent energies, you are taken back to Joan of Arc. If you think of her story and what a bright light she was and how she was wrongly killed and burned at the stake, you can see in history where demons have actually influenced human beings to kill others. And we see this on a regular basis in our modern day as well. For some reason, this has been a very difficult topic for me to do. I've had to redo this video. It's been taking me days to finish, and so I am not sure if it's the nature of this video content, but this is definitely a topic that I will probably not be making more videos on unless, of course, it is the part 2 to this. Now, we're ready to delve into the question, what causes a person to become possessed in the first place? Now, we've all, well, maybe not all of us, but most of us have seen films that Hollywood has produced that show someone being possessed by an evil spirit. And it's definitely not quite like that at all. It doesn't look like that. However, if you've ever seen the movie The Shining with Jack Nicholson and that famous scene where his face is crazy and he is looking like a wild man, there was an instance where I saw a wild being take over and possess a person, and their face looked similar to that. Now, when I was looking for answers, I found the book Between Death and Life and came across what Dolores Cannon said is the reason spirits are able to possess a person is because this person has a serious imbalance in their energetic field and in their body. And more often times than not, the individual will have a chemical dependency, some kind of addiction, whether it's to alcoholism or a destructive drug that they are addicted to. And this is many times what creates an imbalance. Now, there are other cases where individuals have a mental disorder, a personality disorder. A personality disorder could be like narcissism, bipolar, depression. I'm not sure if depression falls in personality, but some sort of emotional, mental problem. So they have an imbalance, and there are many people who have been diagnosed with schizophrenia living on the streets, and they also have some sort of chemical imbalance due to addictions. So this might be part of the problem. I'm not going to guess, I'm not a doctor, but I do know that alcoholics, it's called spirits for a reason, because spirits are attracted to that energy. Now, Dolores taught me that the way that it works in her book, she said that these people create a vacuum. And I understand that it's an empty space. It's like a magnet. It sucks in these spirits into their energetic field because they have a void, a space that isn't filled. And so these entities, these demons, are able to get into them because of this and the fact that they do not have a protective shield or barrier. That is the mechanics behind how a spirit possession works as far as how it gets inside of the body. Now let's go to the next part where it's often overlooked that the person has karma. And what karma is it is the law of cause and effect. It is not some great punisher. It is actually one of the greatest teachers in that we learn that what we send out comes back to us. So if we're doing good things, we're going to get good karma back. And if we're not doing so good things, we will get bad karma. And many people overlook that this is part of what is going on within a spirit possession, as the person that is having these issues has created karma in some form that is not of the highest ideal light. My next story involves my son who invited demonic entities into our home, which would affect our entire family. Now, he did this out of a moment of rage and feeling of powerlessness. And he thought that he could have a being come in and help him have some power. When it happened, he told me that the Coke can that was sitting on the table flew across the room and exploded. And this began a episode where he was exhibiting schizophrenic tendencies, because all of a sudden the voice, this evil voice, was whispering things into his ear, telling him awful things, and it created fear. And I took a picture and I saw what looked like a stone-faced man sitting on his shoulder. There was a shadowy figure that looked like a stone. And at that time, he was, like I said, it was whispering in his ear and telling him terrible things. He became afraid to take a shower. He became afraid to go to school. And this is where, when I started seeing these beings, I realized they all look like elementals. I would call them elementals. Little did I know that that is exactly what a demon is an elemental spirit. So these elemental beings were not made to be malevolent, just like human beings. They can either go to the light and be of the good, or they can just, choose to be of the dark. And so that's kind of what it is, because they're elementals. They are not incarnated in human bodies. They do not incarnate. They are spirits, and they're always spirits. I also saw them as a cloud of smoke within our house. And I say them because when my son invited these beings in, they didn't come alone. There was 3 of them. And they're more powerful that way, because usually on their own, they're not very powerful. And an elemental is a third and fourth density being. And with third density beings, they have no conscience and little intelligence. Now, fourth density is more dangerous because they have no conscience and they have intelligence. So I'm including this picture here because this is the closest thing I could show you that represented what I would see as an elemental. Now, you see the gnome and the troll and the tree man. Now, I saw a elemental inside of a person's face pop out, and it looked like a tree, sort of, with a sharp pointing nose and wild eyes, skinny, like hands were like roots and feet were like roots. And that's what these demons are, is they are elemental spirits. And as I mentioned, they are not highly evolved. They're 3 and 4 density, and so they usually just operate on desires and not the why or intelligence. Now, fear is the worst thing we can do. Fear is what feeds them and makes them stronger. Now, I was taught how to do an exorcism. The first time I did one, it kind of didn't go exactly the way I wanted or planned. I didn't know what I was up against. But I did use my crystal to amplify the energies whenever I used it as a wand and pointed at it and commanded them out. I learned the hard way, though, that you cannot do spiritual exorcisms of any kind without being in your heart and doing it out of a place of love. Now, they did leave. They went out the window whenever I did tell them to leave and commanded them out. But they killed my rabbit. And when this happened, I intuitively or clairaudiently heard they're going after the rabbits. Well, I had put up a protective barrier around the inside of the house, but at that time I didn't even think about doing it in the yard and the animals outside. And perhaps because I needed the lesson of not doing it in love, I thought maybe, I thought I was doing it correctly. I mean, maybe it was a little bit of anger. I was angry. So that was the lesson. We cannot do anything in retaliation or revenge or any kind of energy that is lower than a high frequency anytime we are encountering these beings, because then they can come back and they can do some more damage. So that was my understanding. When I asked what did I do wrong, I heard that I didn't do it in love. And it was sad. The rabbit looked very strange. His face was contorted and twisted in an unnatural way, and he was hurt from the inside out, is what it looked like. So that's why I mentioned to you now that it's very, very important to be aware of your thoughts. What are you creating? What kind of karma are you sending out into the universe for those who have had these issues within their own field of having dark things come and attach to them? Now, or if you have a family member, just know that it's probably because they may have created some karma with these demonic entities, whether it was in this lifetime or a past lifetime. These entities remember them. And so because we are infinite, we only change forms here and there. When we incarnate back into a body, we are remembered. And that is one thing that I learned along the way, and I honestly can't tell you where I picked that up. And if I could, I would definitely leave a source for that information. So yes, so we must always do any kind of spiritual work. It has to be coming from the highest frequency of love, or we can create karma, and it is not going to be fun to experience what we're sending out. And especially with these entities, because they're the ones that are doing the things. So if a person is out there cursing other people or doing dark magic, well, then these demons are what are actually going out and attacking that person. They are the ones that are doing this for the intentions of the darkness. And that is where the karma tie is made. So a person needs to be aware of what they're doing so that they do not attract demonic entities and become possessed by them. And so that's all it is. It's about awareness. It's about knowing that even your thoughts can create karma, especially if they are vengeful and full of, evil eye is actually a frequency people can feel when it's directed to them, because we are energetic beings. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you right now is because this is what I learned through a hypnosis session, was part of the issue. Part of the issue with demonic entities has to do with karma. And I'm not going to say that I am innocent. I was shown some of the things that I had done and how I created this karma. So the next part is where we are going to talk about how to transmute negative energies within our energetic body and build a protective shield around us, and how to fortify that energetic field. And it's really easy when you understand the power of your mind and the power that you have whenever you set an intention. So what we are going to suggest to empower you and those that you love is every single day, surround yourself, visually set the intention to surround yourself with the highest alchemical frequency of the violet spectrum, the violet ray, also known as the violet flame. This is an energy that can transmute all negativity and change it into the higher frequencies. So we are going to set our intention at sunrise, daybreak, early morning. First thing in the morning, set your intention. Imagine with your mind that you are surrounded in the violet flame frequency. You're in this ball, this sphere, this orb. Or you can do it in the evening at sunset. One or the other, or both. It's up to you. But by setting this intention and then believing that the frequency is going to transmute your life, this is the beginning of making a shield so strong that negative dark force entities cannot penetrate and ever attach to you again. So you have to set the intention, but it has to be a daily practice. It doesn't have to be formal. It can just be one moment you take a breath, inhale, and use your mind and say, I surround myself with the violet flame. And remember, it's your intention and it's your belief that begins to make this frequency work for you. It is a real frequency. You just have to take the time out to connect to this frequency. And when you do this, you will become so strong. You will see the alchemical transformation of regular tin into gold. Now remember, if you are someone who is struggling to find balance, it's okay to ask for help. I know that sometimes within mainstream, it's hard to find help for spiritual issues, such as a spirit possession. It's one of those things. Most people don't know what to do. I hope that I answered some of your questions and gave you some tools that you can use to build a protective shield where spirits are not able to cause harm, physical harm, or invade the body. So if you did find this material useful or informative, please consider sharing it with someone who might benefit from this information. And remember that it's up to you to transmute your own energies, and no one else can do this for us. We have to be the ones to do it. Now, I'm going to close the video now with the most beautiful color of the violet frequency, the highest light and frequency within our spectrum on the earth plane. For those of you who wanted to see what the violet color looks like when you're doing your meditations and surrounding yourself in a sphere of violet light. Thank you so much, and continue to be blessed and take care.